the Radio Forest Podcast.
Gary Kemp, welcome, man.
Oh, thank you for having me on.
How's the interviews going for the new album?
They're going well. But I treat everyone as though I've never done one before.
I'm sure you get a lot of the same questions, but are you used to this many interviews since it's been, quite a few years since a solo release, or is it just kind of a day in the life of a musician?
Well, I'm not used to this many interviews because, I think I've done like 150 in the last few weeks. The album came out in the UK and Europe, and, I'm trying to promote it everywhere. In the old days with Spandau Ballet, it was like, can the drummer do this? Can the bass player do this? So we spread it out a bit, but, that's the trouble with doing a solo album. You're the only guy in the room.
Now, I'm talking to Gary Kemp from Spandau Ballet and also Saucerful of Secrets with Nick Mason of Pink Floyd. He's got his solo album out in solo. It's out now. Gary, I always like to start with a real serious question. How much longer can you and I be Arsenal fans? Because my heart is just broken every freaking year.
Yeah, it's a tough time, isn't it? Yeah. That kid Saka's great, though, and we've got to just, hold on to the good stuff that we have. This is the downside. When I first started loving Arsenal in the 60s as a very young boy, they weren't great then.
168 million views on YouTube for True. Do you get a plaque for that? And is that impressive? Is it the same as like Diamond and Platinum albums back in the day? Does it feel the same or does it feel different?
You know what? That kind of passed me by. I didn't really even know that was happening. What I did get impressed by was I got a plaque recently for 5 million airplays in America of that song on the radio. That's more impressive. I'm still more of a radio guy, to be honest. The song changed my life. It still keeps my house warm. I think what was beautiful about that song for me, and I don't know why, but it just becomes an important song in a lot of people's lives, and they've got anecdotes that go around that song and how much it meant to them. And, I never thought I'd be that kid who could write that thing. When I was very young when I wrote it, I never thought I'd be the guy to write that sort of song. But, it still appears in different ways, in different formats, And the other day, my son, who's 9, was watching The Simpsons, and True comes on The Simpsons. And I said, I wrote that. And he went, you write for The Simpsons?
He had not heard the song before? He just didn't catch the song was in the episode?
I don't know. He's a strange kid. I don't think he knows what I do.
And you guys did, in Spandau, you did 6 sold-out nights at the Wembley Arena, 3 at London's O2 Arena. That's some Led Zeppelin-type stuff. Not a lot of bands can say they've done that.
The band had a lot of success here in Europe, kind of post after we'd had the same success in the States, really. A lot of stuff carried on for us that maybe didn't get so exposed in the States. But, we always struggled. We split up in 1990. I went to LA and did a lot of work in movies and TV, and I didn't think we were ever going to get back. We ended up beating each other up in a court case one day, but we ended up getting back together. I think we got back together for genuine reasons. We really missed each other and wanted to make the same music that we could always make. But I think we struggled to stay together creatively, and I think a band has to have new stuff going down to be, I was writing new material for them, but it was never easy. And I think when I got to work with Nick Mason and working for, this legend who, played with Pink Floyd and doing the early Floyd stuff, I really felt a liberation as a guitar player, as a singer. And it was really my inspiration to end up writing this album.
When you played with Saucerful of Secrets with Nick Mason, like you mentioned, Pink Floyd, and then didn't Roger Waters join you guys in New York? That had to have been surreal. And who picks the songs for that night? Is it kind of everybody together? Did Roger take over? Is it Nick's deal?
Roger only came up for one song, but that was fairly cool. The very first song, this is at the Beacon in New York, the first song I ever played with a bunch of other kids when I was 13 was Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun. We sat in a room and we jammed it in someone's house. All these years later, I'm at the Beacon and I'm going to play Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun, and Roger Waters comes on and I sing it with him. And I felt like I'd been preparing all my life for that moment.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. He stayed on stage. The song that's only meant to be is normally about 7 minutes. I think it was about 12 minutes. I think Roger walked around with his arms in the air for the first 4 minutes while the crowd went ballistic.
The new album in solo, I know the song you guys just dropped, like a video for it, is Too Much, and you've got Roger Taylor from Queen on drums. How did you facilitate that? Was he available? Did you ask for him specifically? Do you two already know each other?
Yeah, I've known Roger. I knew the whole Queen in the 80s. I was very close to Freddie, and I've known Roger for a long time. So, I built this record primarily as demos in my studio. And then what I wanted to do was replace it all with real musicians, and the plan would have been to go into a studio. And because we couldn't, I knew that we had to work remotely. And, there was some easy meat out there because a lot of the musicians were grounded, right? So, they couldn't go on tour. So I got in touch with Roger and I said, would you like to play on this record? Actually, I sent him a few tracks and he chose this one that he really liked. And he sent back these great big drums for me and they just were magnificent. But when the studios did open in the summer last year, I got in and I changed all the plastic pianos for real ones and we recorded orchestras and I played guitars nice and loudly in the studios. So we had the best of both worlds.
Knowing Freddie personally then, what do you think his impression would have been of the movie Bohemian Rhapsody? Do you think he would have enjoyed the portrayal of him, the band, the issues, the record label, the fans?
It's hard watching a movie about music if you're a musician because it never feels really like the real thing. So you're just looking for the characters, and I think that guy did really well at capturing Freddie. A lot of it is hokey, but, that was a moment for them when they did Live Aid. Them, U2, all of us, any one of us that played on those stages at Live Aid when we did Spandau Ballet and, in Philadelphia, the acts that did it there. That was an incredible moment for us. And I've got a podcast called Rock on Tours, which I do with Guy Pratt, and we have a lot of musicians on.
Fleetwood Mac, Paul Stanley, Alice Cooper, Billy Corgan.
And everyone that has been on, who played at the Live Aid shows, still says that's one of the greatest moments they've experienced, no matter how big they are, Elton John, whoever it is. That was a key moment for Queen. They were the only clever ones who decided to do the medley. But I knew Freddie right up to the end when he was, not very well. And the side of Freddie I knew was just a very warm, loving, beautiful guy. But was also, at the same time, I think, one of the greatest showmen the world has ever seen.
The Raconteur is talking about your podcast. I don't hear any ads in there. Are you doing this for free?
But we have ads over here in the UK. That's the only place I've ever heard it. So they're putting on ads here. So it's number one here at the moment on the music podcast, Apple Music podcast channels and Spotify or whatever. But I definitely do it for free because I think the only money that we get in really is the production and stuff. And I love doing it. This is the thing. Guy and I are fanboys. Every week we have some great new. And this week we've got Adam Clayton coming on. I love all kinds of music, everything from prog rock to punk rock to glam rock. So, my ambition is to get St. Vincent. I really like her, and I really want to get Springsteen on. I'm going to get Macca on. But it's really just meant to be three musicians chatting backstage. That's the vibe of it, and it's becoming really popular. And a lot of musicians come on and go, we'd like talking to you because you understand. You've been there.
I really like it a lot. It's a great podcast. Gary Kemp, he's in The Bodyguard, and that soundtrack is like the 5th best-selling album of all time. It beat the Eagles. But Pink Floyd's above that. You played with Nick Mason. Gary Kemp, new album out now, first in 25 years, I believe. In solo, we talked about the song Too Much with Roger Taylor. His brother's on it as well. Gary, thanks for the chat today, man, and taking some time and answering our questions.
Thanks so much for having me on.